Our first guest on the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show has a Section 5 style to him. He's a former Section 5 player. He started his officiating career in basketball in Section 5. His name is Jeffrey Anderson, fresh off the Final Four and officiating one of the greatest games in, I'll say it now, basketball history. Jeff Anderson joins us. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, how's everybody? How's everybody doing?
Great. We're great. Thanks for being on the show. Obviously, your roots go back to Section 5, but let's go right to the moment. I mean, 93-90, the Zags sends UCLA home. As you look back on that now, almost a week later, what goes through your mind when you think about that? Not just the moment of the three-pointer, but the game.
You know, I'll take you back to the initial shot by Ju Zhang. Very tough move by him. By the time he released it, he was on the ground. He already knew where the ball was going and putting it back up to tie it at 90. So, you know, everybody talks about the next shot that came after that, but I thought that was a very big play by him. And we know he played very well throughout the game. But to put it up right away, Gonzaga did a great thing. They never called timeout because they did have a timeout remaining, and they just pushed it down the court. And, you know, as a basketball official, what we're looking for at this time is to make sure this guy doesn't get hit. We're not worried about the three-pointer. It's the last shot of the game right then. We didn't know it was the last shot, but for right now, it's the last shot. So we got to make sure we have all eyes on the shooter and cover him and just make sure he doesn't do anything illegal or no one does anything illegal to him. And from there, we know it's history, man. You know, what a shot. He pulls up and hits a jump shot, man. I don't think people understand that. It was not a runner. It was a jump shot. By the time he hit the ground, he knew it was good. And as an official, the trail, you're just there to signal at home. And sometimes you get into the moment, and as I've watched it, I was in the moment at that time. So,
yeah, that was a pretty emphatic. It's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
But Jeff, when you're an official, you can't watch the game like a fan, a coach, or a player. And you're the trail official on that play. You're coming up. You might have had the best view in the world of that shot, though. What did you think when it left Suggs' hands? Did you think it had a shot going in?
From the time he came down, all I'm doing is making sure he doesn't get hit. But as soon as I turned my head and looked, it was being kissed off the glass. And so at that point, I know it's good. You got the horn going off at the same time. So my job is just to bang it home. But I'm telling you, you knew he had a great shot because nobody can test him at all. So he had a great look. And I'll say it again, the guy took a jump shot, not a runner, a jump shot. And you heard his coach say that's what he's practiced during the whole time during the season. So, you know, it was just like probably another play to him at that time.
The pace of that game. Have you officiated many games with that kind of pace, 93-90, such high level all the way across?
Yes, I have. You know, the only game I can equate to that is the 5 overtime game I did quite from years back with Louisville and Notre Dame. It ended up being a high scoring game, but initially it wasn't. But after 5 overtimes, yeah, you're going to get that. But that game there just was built for excitement. As I was saying to you guys before we came on, it was near perfection because the coaches coached, players played, officials officiated, and that's all you want in a game. And no game is ever going to be perfect. That is our closest game we came to perfection. And I remember when us going off the court as officials, all we did was hug and said thank you to one another. I mean, our crew dynamics was perfect in that game.
When you're reffing a game that is that good, Jeff, are you able to think at all, or being an official with your job and your responsibilities, do you just have to focus? I mean, it's almost like you either have to be thinking a lot or not thinking at all. Take me inside your mind when you're doing a game like that.
Well, the interesting part of you say about thinking is I don't think good referees do a lot of thinking. It's reacting more than anything. I'll just tell you quickly. There's times when you wanted to call a foul and you pull your hand back down. I would guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if you went and looked at that play, it was a foul. But you started thinking, and so you pulled your hand back instead of just reacting. Our natural abilities are to react to whatever we see, and we have to use that. And I try to tell so many young guys that just let your abilities take over, man. Your instincts are your best thing we have, I think, as human beings, period. So in this concept of a basketball game, just let your instincts take over. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be right.
You were in the bubble for the Big East tournament and then for the NCAA tournament. How
Mhm.
difficult was this on you and your family? And just to give some people an indication of how it might have been on other adults or even the student athletes to go through this.
Well, I mean, let's just say what has helped us first. The pandemic, we hate that it's happened, but we've all been locked up basically, with our families, and some of us wanting to get out, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I think the start of that in March 11th, just being home constantly helped in that aspect of being locked up somewhere and not being able to want to go around too many places. But I did this in July with the TBT for 15 days. So I understood how it would be. Now, as far as like being away from my family, man, they know and I know that's what I do for 5.5 months. This is the longest I've ever been away. When we're talking a whole month, but I've been away for 23 days. So just shy, 8 days shy of a month. So, I've done this, but for a lot of guys, it was kind of hard. It really was. I mean, being locked down, I think, is totally different than just being away and traveling. I mean, we were in one spot, and I was in the Big East for 7 days, and then from there I flew directly to Indianapolis on March 14th, and I was there until I got back on April 6th. So just that, being away, doing the same thing every day. I tell everybody I went outside 3 times in basically a month. 3 times in basically a month. And I laughed because it was like when we did go out, we went in Indianapolis, they took us to this baseball diamond and they let us walk around. But you got grown men who were just like kids. We're out in the yard for 1 hour and we're kicking soccer balls, throwing footballs, just happy to be, outside and enjoying a little weather. So it's something that you knew you had to do it in order for this tournament to be successful, because this is the only way this tournament was going to be successful, is that they had to lock everybody down. And we saw that we had one team that had a mishap, and that was BCU out of 68 teams. So I think they did a very good job. And we got to say kudos to the NCAA in that aspect.
Jeff, you're Section 5 through and through. You're still on the board of directors of the local officiating board, Board 60. Franklin High grad, class of 85. Won a championship with Trent Jackson in 1984. When do you remember just falling in love with basketball?
Ooh. I had to be about 8 years old. And I used to watch the 76ers tape delay games, and that man, Dr. J, I think everybody loved Dr. J before all these other guys came along. And it was him in those Converse commercials, I remember. And so that's what got me into wanting to play. And from there, I just enjoyed the game so much. I just remember staying on the court all the time. We didn't have all this Nintendo, PlayStation stuff, man. So, we were outside most of the time. And so I ended up on the hard court.
I'm a Celtics fan, so I'm glad you got that in there. Go ahead, Steve.
So, Jeff, coming from Franklin, and everybody that grows up and falls in love with basketball wants to go to the NBA, but that is probably one of the hardest things in the world to do. But for you to be able to be at the top of your profession and still be in basketball 35 years after you're out of high school, what's your message to the young kids that might want to try officiating and come from Rochester and know that they can make it to the top of their profession if they do some of the things that you've done?
First thing I'll say to everyone, it's interesting, some of the conversations you have with people, for some reason, that's a very good question you just asked. Some people think I just dropped in right where I am, but there's a thing called hard work, man, and not being afraid to fail either. I mean, because part of success is failure, and in doing this, I've run into some rough road in officiating, and I equate it back to I just think about, and this is when I had got to the Division I level, but the Xavier Cincinnati game, I thought my career was over after that game. I mean, it's on national TV and you got a brawl, and all they think about is the referees, and anything that happened, it's all the referees' fault. But the biggest thing I could say here is, though, you never give up on whatever your dream might be. Constantly work hard at it, though. I mean, nothing's given to any of us, and I can surely say that to you. I put a lot of money into this as far as camp wise, and with some of the young guys, first thing they would say is, boy, this is so expensive. But if you have a chance in this, then you have to put something into it, and hard work comes, and that's what it is. And I'm just a kid, man. I always tell everybody, and we talk about it and we laugh, some of our friends, I'm just a kid from 700 North Street, man. And we call that North Street University because we learned an awful lot right there at that recreation center growing up. And now I look back and, a lot of times we just say from 700 to here, but you never know what the man upstairs had for us in our life, man. But first thing I'm going to say is put hard work in, and don't let nobody tell you what you can't do, really. I mean, this didn't happen for me until I was 28 years old when I first picked up a whistle to referee, and things have been speeding ever since. So I'll ride the wave on out.
It's remarkable. 4 straight Final Fours. I'm not sure how many NCAA tournaments in a row, but I remember it's automatic now for you. And let me ask you this: the bigger the stage, how do you as an official compartmentalize that? Whether you're an Olean at the Riley Center, the Carrier Dome in front of 30,000, or at these giant domes. You refereed the Villanova-Michigan championship game in 2018. Are you able to block all that out and just it's a basketball game on a court? I mean,
you know what, Jeff, when you talk about things like that, at the end of the day, this might sound funny, but you can equate this to a 5th and 6th grade game. I can guarantee you one thing they're going to do on every level. They're going to commit fouls in between those 4 lines. They're going to push, shove, and somebody's going to have something to say, meaning the coaches. And that, no matter how far you climb up the level, all that still happens. So if you can take it and put it in perspective like that and know that's what you're dealing with and that's what you have to ref, I think that's what makes it easy for me. I mean, nothing has changed. Yes, I went up the ladder and the talent has gotten better, but everything is the same as far as what's going to happen. I mean, in between those 4 lines, that is what's going to happen. And you're going to have somebody in the stands screaming and hollering at you. All that stuff is going to happen. So, I mean, I think the bigger the game becomes, the biggest thing for you is to just remember what it's about, man. It's just a basketball game at the end of the day, and it's about the kids. And if we can really understand it's about the kids, I think you can compartmentalize all of it, and it'll work, man. It'll work.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Refereeing runs in your family a little bit too. Your son Josh is also a ref. He's known around, and you've had some great moments with him. Getting to ref with him his first college games at what? JUCO, D2, D1, D3. You were on the call together. What's that been like for you?
You know what? Out of everything I've done, I didn't know that Joshua was going to be a referee. Initially I started to try to get him into it, but he was into other things, so I just stopped. But I didn't realize how much he paid attention until when I started watching him. I mean, he really paid attention, and I think that's why he's been successful so quick. But it's always great, man, when it's a father-son relationship. It's probably one of the toughest things too, because you have to like pick and choose how you're going to talk to your son as far as like refereeing, because father and sons, it's still a father and son relationship. And, you want as much as you can get out of your kid, and you want them to be successful. And obviously I want him to be successful, but and like I tell him, just like I've been told, it's only what you put in is what you're going to get out too. So it's been very fortunate to just be on the court with him and then just see him referee too. Really.
Well, we appreciate you making some time. Congrats on another great season. You are a great role model for everybody in Rochester. Especially, I want those young boys to look at you and see what they can do. And it's a great thing. It's 28 years old. I mean, that's pretty, if you're in your mid-20s, you know what you're going to do. Hey, talk to Jeff Anderson. He might have an idea for you. Congrats on it. It's great to call you a friend, and we appreciate you being on the show.
All right. I got one question, Jeffrey. How's the little young lady?
She's doing great, man. She's 7. She's growing like a weed, and soon she'll be posting me up.
Good. Good. Hey, thank you guys very much, man. Greatly appreciate you all.
Jeff
Thank you,
Anderson
Jeff.
right here, the official from Rochester who does the Final Fours, man. Pretty cool. Great to turn on the TV and see him up there running around doing the high step, Thanks, Jeff.
All right, you guys take care.
We'll take our first break. You're listening to the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show, brought to you by Salvatore's Pizza.